Hey guys, welcome to my channel or welcome back to my channel. I'm Naomi and I'm so glad that you are here today. Today I'm going to be sharing with you how I bought a Lexus and how I decided to purchase this car and everything that has to do with buying a car and leasing as well, since I'm coming from a leased car to now owning a car. So this is information that I really wish that I knew a few years ago, back when I leased my previous car, which was my Honda Civic. And there's just so much information out there and so much that they don't teach you in schools or I guess anywhere. So I just wanted to share that information in hopes that it might help some of you out or help you make a decision. So yeah, if you're interested, just keep on watching. Okay, first of all, I feel like I need to just explain to you why I am looking like this. And that is because I was going to film this morning. Right now it's actually like 4:30 p.m. But I was like getting everything set up, and then I heard like some drips coming in, like on the side in my kitchen. Like it sounded like it was raining, but it wasn't. And then I noticed that there was drips coming from my tenant's upstairs kitchen sink coming in to our apartment, since that part of the wall isn't even like on yet, so it's all exposed. That's why I could see it. And so I went up there and found out that their kitchen faucet was all screwed up. So since it was like a really crappy one up there, so I had to go to Home Depot. I had to buy a new faucet, and then I had to somehow figure out how to switch them out by myself. And luckily, I was able to do that, and it was not that hard. So, yeah, that is the life of being a landlord, I guess, is just things will just randomly pop up. Luckily, not too much has really happened that I've had to take care of. So that's nice. It's very, like, low maintenance, but yeah, it's definitely a learning experience. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to start at the beginning here, and this is from 3 years ago now. Back when I decided to lease my Honda Civic, which, yeah, turned out to be like a huge mistake. To me, at least, I thought it was. Basically, I was in a very long-term relationship a few years ago, and he had a car, but I didn't, so we always just shared the car and stuff and carpooled because we went to the same university and everything. But then we had a really horrible breakup. And basically, I was homeless for a month, and I ended up living in an Airbnb for a few weeks. Wasted a whole bunch of money there, and then I needed to have a car so I could go to work, since I work to pay the bills and stuff while I'm at school. So I went to the dealership, and I was going there specifically to buy like a cheap used car. But then they basically just talked me into getting a lease. I don't really know how this happened or why I was dumb enough to say, like, yeah, let's do this instead of what I was there for. But I was in a very vulnerable situation, and I was very easily, I don't want to say I was like manipulated, because I definitely I had the decision, but they just really worked their sales magic on me, and they got me to lease the car. So I leased the cheapest Honda that they had, and yeah, so I put $500 down since I didn't really have much cash at the time. That was as much as I could do, and they gave me $500 as well to put to the down payment because I was a college student, so it was some promotion going on, so they just put that in the down payment. And then I signed the lease for 3 years, 36,000 miles, and it was $239 per month, which I don't know. It wasn't terrible, but I feel like that's still kind of high for what it is, like a super base model Honda Civic. I don't know. It just seems kind of like a lot. But anyways, I was driving that for the past 3 years. And since my lease was going to be ending, it was supposed to end in May, so 2 months from now, actually. So I started looking for the type of car that I would want to replace it, since I knew I didn't want to buy out this lease. I wanted to get rid of it. A big reason I decided to get rid of it instead of buying it out is because it was involved in an accident, And when a car is involved in an accident, the value decreases substantially, because repairing it and everything, it just makes it more likely for something to go wrong again in the future. So a lot of the time when someone goes to buy a used car, they make sure to pick one that has not been in an accident, or if it has just like a fender bender or something, which normally wouldn't even be listed. So I didn't want to buy this car since the cost for me to buy it off of my lease would be more than it's worth, at least from what I found, since they quoted me, I think $13,000 for me to buy out the lease. And this is a 2018 Civic, and I looked online and they have some online for like 12 or 11,000, so I just didn't think that was worth it. And honestly, I just didn't really like it that much. I mean, it was totally fine. I had too many bad memories with it, with, you know, the whole fact that I had to get it in the first place. And yeah, I just didn't really want it anymore. So I was looking through so many cars. I initially wanted a BMW i3, which in hindsight, I'm very glad that I didn't end up buying that. And I was looking at other like types of BMWs because I was like obsessed with them and I just always wanted one. And then I was looking at other options like, you know, cheaper Toyotas and Hondas and stuff like that. But then eventually I settled down and decided that I wanted the Lexus CT200H, which they no longer make. They made it from 2011 to 2018 or 17. I think 2017 was the last model in the US that they made. But basically that car is just a Prius with a, I guess, more luxurious body and trim. So I really love that because my mom drives a Prius and we had a Prius when I was growing up as a kid. And I really like them. I love hybrids or electric cars. I, first of all, just don't like going to the gas station. It's a huge pain in the neck for me. And it, you know, costs more and it's terrible for the environment. So hybrid kind of eases that a bit. And then, you know, you get great gas mileage on a Prius. So I thought that this Lexus was like everything that I always wanted because it had all of those things. It was a Prius, but it didn't look like a Prius. No hate to Priuses. I just think that these are a little more exciting and you don't see them on the road too much, so they're just kind of cool. Yeah, so I was on Car Gurus and all these other sites and I kept looking for them and they would pop up every once in a while, but nothing really like around where I live. I didn't want something that had more than like 100,000 miles on it, and those seem to be what were popping up. But then I guess like 2 weeks ago now, one popped up that was near me, and since I still had 2 months left on this lease, I wasn't planning on actually buying anything. I just wanted to look and test drive it just so that if I, you know, had to buy one on like Carvana or one of those online car sites, I would at least know how the car felt and everything. So I made the appointment to go test drive it, and then I went, I test drove it, it was great. They were trying to get me to buy the car that night, and I was definitely not going to do that, so I ended up just walking out. Before I left, though, I wanted to see if I could at least negotiate the price of this car because it was already a pretty good deal compared to everything else I've seen for that model, but there's always room for negotiation. So the listing price for this car was $14,600. And I got them down to $14,300, which is basically like a failure because I feel like normally you can get things down by like at least $1,000, but I don't know, they just were not budging. I kept trying. They didn't take it. So instead I tried to ask if they could like give some value added services like new tires or fixing like this dent that was there was a small dent in the back and then a little scratch on the side of the car. I asked them if they could just like fix that, new brake pads, and then like a free oil change. Stuff like that doesn't cost too much, but it's just another way to negotiate because it's usually cheaper for them to do that than to actually lower the dollar amount. So they actually said yes to that. So they wanted me to put the deposit down and I said no because I needed to think about it because I didn't even go there to buy a car in the first place. So yeah, I left, and then the next morning they emailed me and they said, oh, you know what, we forgot to tell you, but you mentioned that you had a lease. So if you can give us the VIN number for the car, which is basically like the serial number that each car has, we can contact Honda. We'll probably be able to just buy out your lease and just take it off your hands. So I didn't know that this was even something that like dealerships would do, but I really like the idea of that. So I gave them the VIN number and they said, okay, yeah, so the dealer purchase price, which is the price to buy out the lease, was $12,500, I think. So it's less than what it would have been if I bought it out. And they said, yeah, we can do that. Like, we'll pay the $12,500, and then you can get like your plates and everything transferred, and then you won't have to deal with the last two payments or the whole lease return situation. If you didn't know, a lot of times with lease payments, it's very, very annoying how they do this, but they charge a disposition fee, which is a fee of a few $100s usually for when the lease term is up and you return the car. It's like instead of a down payment, it's like a final payment, like something you just pay at the end. And there's no way to get out of this because it is in your contract. And for my car, it was $350, which is not nothing. So I had the $350 for that fee. Also, before you return a lease, they have to check everything. Someone comes out and inspects the entire car, make sure there's no scratches or dents or anything on the car. And if there is, they will charge you for it. And usually that could be hundreds of dollars. I didn't have any scratches or dents or anything like that, but my tires were, I thought that they were like on the edge of needing to be replaced, since technically you're supposed to have everything in the condition that you had when you bought it, including the tires. So obviously 3 years of driving a car, the tires aren't going to be the same. So I was probably going to have to pay a few $100 for new tires. So if I just got the dealer to buy out this entire car, it would just take all of that burden off of me. I wouldn't have to even like deal with that car anymore. And yeah, I calculated, and it was going to be, I mean, I don't know exactly since I didn't do the inspection, so I don't know what they would have charged me for various repairs or new tires or whatever, but it was going to be at least $750. That's just with the last 2 months payments and also the disposition fee. So that's a big chunk of money that they would basically take off if I bought this other car. So basically I decided I don't see a downside to doing this, at least not that I could tell. They seemed like genuine people. They weren't trying to scam me or anything. So yeah, I agreed. I didn't buy this car in cash. Well, I guess I can talk about the costs now, but for the Lexus, I put $5,000 down. I was originally planning to put down more because I was still saving for a car down payment, but I was cool with $5,000 because for the rest of it, I financed on a 48-month, so a 4-year term with a 2.14% interest rate, which the dealer told me that was the lowest they've ever seen for an interest rate, especially for a used car. Usually used cars that are slightly older have higher interest rates because the risk is higher. But I guess in my case, they gave me this insanely good rate through my bank. It was funny because I didn't plan this or anything, but it turned out that with this interest rate, with the $5,000 down, the payments per month would be $238 per month, which is $1 less than my Honda lease. So I just thought that was funny because why is it so exactly the same? Obviously though, I put more money down on this one and I did it for a 4-year term instead of 3 years. So I mean, it's different, but it's just funny how the monthly payment ended up being exactly the same. So yeah, I think that's everything that I guess you really need to know about the payment. It was very simple, super easy. And I ended up getting the car 3 days later, because they had to take it into the shop to put in the new brake pads and the tires and also fix the dents and stuff. Apparently they had to repaint the whole door and the whole bumper to make it match. And I couldn't believe it when I saw it. I was very pleasantly surprised because I wasn't expecting a perfect job on this because it's a used car or whatever. And I didn't really care too much, but it was perfect. Like, you couldn't even tell that this was repainted or anything. They did a perfect job on it. And when I went to go pick it up, I obviously drove to the dealer in my Honda, which they had never even seen until that moment. Basically, I just gave them the keys to my Honda and said, like, yeah, I took everything out of it and I cleaned it. And they said, all right, well, we'll mail a check to pay off the car to Honda, and then you should be good to go. And I was legitimately like, is that it? Like, do I have to, do you guys need to, like, inspect it or do anything else, make sure that it's good? And they said, nope, you're good. So yeah, that was my story. It was very, very easy. Yeah, so it's been a couple weeks now. I love my car so much. This car is just, it's just so perfect because it's quite small. I compared it to my mom's car, and it's actually, I think it's a little bit smaller. So she has like a 2014 Prius, and the year of the car that I bought is a 2015. I don't know if I mentioned that. So it's about 6 years old, and it has 72,000 miles on it when I bought it. Yeah, I didn't buy any of the added warranties or any of that stuff, and I highly recommend you guys almost never sign up for those things because they're thousands of dollars and they don't even cover everything. So please don't sign up for that unless you have a very good reason to. I feel like it's normally cheaper just to, like, get something fixed and pay for it out of pocket if that ever even happens. I mean, I never thought in my entire life that I would ever be buying a luxury car. I mean, I just didn't even, no one in my family has a luxury car. We've always driven very, not cheap cars, but like budget-friendly, regular cars. And it was just so cool to be able to purchase a Lexus by myself, no co-signers or anything like that. It was just really cool because I, first of all, couldn't believe how inexpensive it was compared to other cars that I had seen that were from all different brands and all different models and types. One big reason why I decided to purchase this car is because I've read online that the CT200H is the most reliable Lexus that they have ever made. And there are also a lot of reports that Lexus is the most reliable car company. So in that sense, wouldn't that make it the most reliable car, like, ever? I don't know. People say that it's very reliable. People that have it really like it. It doesn't drive like really sporty or anything. It really drives like a Prius. Like, it feels almost the same. There is a sport mode on it, but it just basically uses more gas. I don't know. It feels a little bit quicker, I guess, if you use that, but I don't really ever put it on that setting. But yeah, it's great. It's like silent when you turn it on. The battery is awesome, and I have had zero issues. So I hope that for the whole life of this car, for as long as I have it, it treats me well. I plan on keeping this for as long as possible. I really don't like the idea of buying a car every 4 or 5 years. Basically, what a lot of people do is they just buy a new car anytime that they pay off their previous car. And I don't like that idea because I don't like having something that I have to pay for every month like that. Once you pay something off, it doesn't mean that the car doesn't work anymore. You can still use it. There's no reason to purchase a new car when you finish paying the previous one. Basically, I try to tell people that because it's very normalized now for people to just constantly have a car payment, and that's fine if you're really into cars and you really like having a new car every few years and that's like your thing, then by all means. But I really am not that type of person. I just want a car that is nice enough where I'll still be excited about it in a few years. I'll still like it. It'll be reliable. I hopefully won't have any issues with it. And something that I could drive for, I don't know, at least like 8 years, I would hope. Another recommendation I have is if you are going to purchase a car, do it for the shortest period of time as possible. Because first of all, if you can get like 84-month car loans now, which is completely absurd. Please never do that. I think 60 months is like the maximum anyone should ever do. I don't think 72 months is a good idea, certainly not 84. If you see how much interest you're going to pay over the life of a car that you're paying for that long, it's probably going to shock you. It's much better to have a shorter term because you'll get a much lower interest rate. You'll pay it off sooner, obviously, and the amount of interest that you pay over the whole lifetime is so much less. Also, especially if you're buying a used car, you don't want to have an extremely long payment, because if the car ends up, I don't know, like costing so much to fix, or to the point where you're better off just buying a different car, you don't want that to happen while you're still paying off that car, you know? Yeah, I'm starting to go on a tangent here, so I think I should just end this. But I hope that you enjoyed. I think that it is possible to purchase a luxury car on a budget and also in a smart way. This is by no means a cheap car, but compared to many different models of other luxury vehicles, this is on the lower end. And it also seems to depreciate a lot less because of the reliability. So there's a lot of things to take into consideration when looking for a car. If you have any questions for me specifically, just let me know down below. I would love to help you in any way that I can. If you're currently leasing or you've leased in the past, can you please tell me if you enjoyed it or if you didn't like it? I'm very curious. Some people are like ride or die, like leasing always sorts of people, and then other people always buy their cars. So yeah, I'm definitely now on the team of purchasing, but there are definitely situations where leasing would make sense, not in any of those situations. So yeah, that's my story of how I basically am paying less money for a Lexus than I did for my Civic. I hope you enjoyed. Please subscribe if you have not already, and click on the bell icon to be notified every time I post. I try to post every single Wednesday, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.